Thank you so much, Andre, for doing what you do best, get community leaders to come together to collaborate on best practices. In my nearly 3 decades in law enforcement, I got to tell you, I have not been more excited than I am now to address an unprecedented epidemic like we've never, ever experienced before. You know, in Seminole County, Andre mentioned a little bit about the stats in Seminole County, but Seminole is a very affluent county. It's the 3rd most densely populated county per square mile in the state of Florida. But yet, last year alone, we had more than 450 deployments of Narcan, which means quite literally, we've brought 450 people back to life. You know, even more alarming than that is we had more than 80 deaths. In Seminole, if you take every person that died of a motor vehicle crash or at the hands of a gun, self-inflicted or otherwise, there are more than twice as many people that died of an opioid-related overdose. And enough is enough. Now, we've worked on this before in our own little worlds, but some of the hazards of that is we worked in silos and did not have the opportunity to collaborate at the highest level, and this is what Project Opioid does for us. It brings together community leaders, faith-based business community to look at best practice strategies to combat the opioid epidemic. And I underscore best practice strategies. The team of Project Opioid has looked at what works in other parts of the country and brings those science-based programs to make sure that we are spending our time collaborating and providing services to our citizens that actually work. And that does not occur without this level of collaboration, because there's not one of us that's smarter than all of us, and the collective IQ of the group is always greater than any one individual. We cannot arrest our way out of this problem. I don't know why we think that the same strategies we employed year after year after year is going to yield any results other than the same results that we've seen. It simply does not work. We know that the number one predictor on whether or not you will overdose and die is whether or not you've overdosed and lived. And this epidemic is not a situation of trying to make bad people good, but rather sick people well. We know more than 80% of the people who are now dependent on opioids were at one time legally prescribed the drug for a pre-existing legitimate medical condition by somebody that they trusted. And I don't have to tell the people in this room the epidemic that we had with bad doctors running pill mills across the state of Florida. As we work on treating those people who are dependent on opioids and breaking that cycle of addiction, we also have to continue to be aggressive on those people pushing deadly doses of narcotics in our communities. And I'm proud to say in Seminole County alone, we charged 13 people with first-degree murder for dealing deadly doses of narcotics out on the streets. And I don't want to get into a big debate, but securing the borders and looking at where the drugs are coming from are a big part of what we need to do. This synthetic opioid is a big, big problem, and we're seeing fentanyl and carfentanil laced in more recreational type of drugs, marijuana and cocaine, and we're reviving people and we're saying, how long have you used opioids? And they've said, I don't use opioids. And we're the first ones to let them know that that is indeed what they've overdosed on. In the end, the greatest responsibility that we have as a civilized society is to protect and preserve human life. And that's what we're doing. And we are blessed here in the state of Florida to have the support from our chief executives, Governor Ron DeSantis and First Lady Casey DeSantis, who are here with us today. Now, I don't know if you've been watching for the last 8 months, but when they dig into something, they take bold steps to make it happen. And I don't know that they've taken a break for one day over the past 8 months. They've held listening sessions. The governor executed by executive order strategies that help us combat this opioid epidemic. But the governor has talked about his secret weapon, and that's First Lady Casey DeSantis. She clearly recognizes that her role as First Lady is not ceremonial, and she has dug in like nobody's business. I was with her a couple of weeks ago, and I told her in the room, I said, I've waited 27 years for all departments to work together in collaboration to come up with best practice solutions to address the most significant problems facing our community. And that is exactly what her Hope for Healing effort does. Addresses substance abuse and mental health across our country, and she's already yielded great success, implementing a 5-hour teaching in our public schools on mental illness. She recognizes the dependence on co-occurring issues. Those that are suffering from substance abuse are also many times suffering on a road for their mental health journey, and she recognizes that. She's implemented telehealth portals in Northwest Florida, the people who are most devastated by Hurricane Michael. And most recently, she's put together a drug abuse prevention panel that I have the opportunity to chair on her behalf, and I'm blessed to be able to do that. The list goes on and on and on. If you look at all that she's accomplished, she has always taken a special focus on our most vulnerable, starting with our children. Understanding that children component, and if we address things at the earliest stage, we can do great, great things. The governor has appointed her chair of the Children and Youth Cabinet, and the first meeting is actually being held this Friday. Her compassion for those in need is an evident part and will forever be part of the legacy of her leadership here in the state of Florida. The First Lady and Governor are also able to balance being mom and dad, and it's probably one of the biggest assignments that they have in addition to all that they're doing for our great state, to Madison and Mason. It is my honor and privilege to welcome our friend and the 46th First Lady of the great state of Florida, Casey DeSantis.